As you may be aware that recently there was a survey and a poll conducted in Australia that 41% of Australian society and the people actually supported the view that Muslims or Islam does not integrate into this country, specifically Muslims. And as you know, right-wing groups such as the Pauline Hanson One Nation took advantage of this poll to say, hey, look, everything that we've been saying about Islam is true, and we even have public support for this. And as you know, that those people such as Pauline Hanson actually do not actually have the facts upon them, and they prey on the vulnerable and the ignorant. Now, I'm not saying this. On Neil Mitchell's 3AW693 program, we had an expert at Deakin University who conducted a study to show that majority of the people actually fear Islam based upon not what they know about Islam, but because of what they don't know. They are simply ignorant. And I actually called in and appeared basically through voice recording on the 3AW693 program. I called in, and you can actually hear my discussion with Neil Mitchell on the program. So you'll listen to that too, which I'll play towards the end of this video. But let's go ahead now and listen to what Deakin University says about this. Now, this is really startling. Why? Because Pauline Hanson has really failed here. Those who actually support her cause are actually ignorant, and they know very little about Islam. Now, if they knew about Islam, then I'm pretty sure they wouldn't have supported Pauline Hanson's cause, and thus Pauline Hanson wouldn't really have those members to defend her own agenda, her political agenda. So let's go ahead and now listen to what Deakin University experts say on this matter to prove that 41% are ignorant, and that's why they actually go against Islam and Muslims, thinking that they don't integrate into this country. So let's have a listen.
Okay, I'm sorry it took a while to get there. With this issue with the survey on Muslims and attitude to Muslims, it's only, a week or so ago, a survey showed 49% of people thought Muslims should be blocked from coming into the country, including 34% of Greens voters. I found that quite staggering, and now there's new research from Deakin University showing a significant number of people, 60% in fact, would be concerned if a family member married a Muslim. There would be support for searching Muslims more thoroughly than others at airports, various other things in here. I think these two surveys combined will quite affect public debate in this country. Conducted by Deakin University, Dr. Matteo Vigani is one of the co-authors of the research at the Alfred Deakin Institute for Citizenship and Globalisation. Dr. Vigani, good morning.
Hello, good morning.
Your origin's Italian, no?
Yes, I am.
do you think Australians, well, you might have a view on this, do you think Australians are racist?
I don't. I actually don't. I think they're scared and they're worried and concerned that they're not more racist than any other European country or the United States.
So what do you think are the standout points in this work that you've done?
Yeah, I think we try to explain why people are concerned. And what we find is that people who fear terrorism are the ones who are the most concerned, of course, of Muslims. And also people who don't know any Muslim person. And this is really important because many people, don't know any Muslim at school, at work, not even talking about family. So, and they are really scared about Muslims in general. And also people who don't know about Islam, the religion in general. So we are...
Okay, so did you hear that? Deakin University clearly said that those people, such as the 41% who voted against Muslims, they actually don't even have friends, right, of Muslims. They don't know Muslims. So obviously they're going to fear something that they don't know about. And obviously they're going to be against it. And just as you heard him also say that they don't even know about Islam. So when Pauline Hanson, for example, gets up and says, oh, look, I got 41% people or 49% supporting me, my views, well, I'm sorry, Deakin University has clearly conducted a survey that says that these people are ignorant and they don't know anything about Islam. There you have it, folks. Let's continue.
Asked a few factual questions, like, do you know that Jesus is a prophet in Islam? And people who don't know much about the religion are the ones who are the most scared about terrorism and scared of Muslims as well.
Okay, well, I guess this perhaps addresses an area that's been sort of avoided for a long time, though, in this country. Clearly there is a concern about Muslim and Islam because so much of terrorism is Islamic, or in the name of Islam, isn't it? That's what's behind it.
So I think there is a conflation between terrorism and Islam because, yes, of course, there is a battle of terminology, like certain terrorist groups, like the Islamic State. They love to be perceived as the real Islamic, real Muslims, but they are not. And actually Muslims all over the world are the ones who are the victims of terrorism. Most of the victims of terrorism are Muslims, actually. So people tend to forget, of course, conflate, and actually it is about knowledge again in the end.
The data also shows that people believe practicing Muslims don't fit into Australian society. Yeah, go on.
Yeah, I think, again, it's about fear of the unknown, so fear of people dressing in a different way, and this is related to prejudice, not only against Muslims, but in general, white people in general can fear people of different colors, like black people, and so this is what it is about. So
it tends to say we've got a problem, though, doesn't it? Because we have a percentage of the population that's Muslim, and they are many Australian-born, and they're not going to leave the country.
Look, it is important to address this problem and to start a discussion about definitely what we are in general as multicultural societies, not only Australia, but I would like to remind that all multicultural societies in Europe, again, the United States, North America, also Canada, have very similar problems.
Okay, thank you very much. I appreciate your time. Dr. Matteo Vigani, co-author of that research. 57% of people would be concerned if one of their close relatives married a Muslim. 33% would be concerned if they married a Jewish person. 30% a Buddhist. 8% Christian. 41% said practicing Muslims do not fit Australian society. 40% practicing Muslims are a threat to Australian society. 36.5% practicing Muslims should be searched more thoroughly at airports. And 26% counter-terrorism policies in Australia should focus exclusively on practicing Muslims. We've been suggesting for some time that you can't ignore discussing these things because there is an underlying problem.
So as you can see, you can clearly see through the study that people only fear what they do not know. So this goes to show that Pauline Hanson and their movement has clearly been debunked that the Australians are apparently aware that Islam is really what it is, when it's actually the opposite. They don't know what it is, so obviously they're going to statistically vote against something they don't understand. So that clearly debunks the Pauline Hanson One Nation movement 100%. Now, if her followers understood what religion Islam is and what it stands upon, then we have no argument to make against that. We'll say, well, they follow Islam, they basically have read it, they've studied it, they understand it. Then, hey, maybe the statistics and the poll would support Paul Hanson's view. But the very fact that they haven't studied it and they're ignorant about it, majority of them, then that doesn't actually prove her point that Australians support her. If any, proves that the ignorant actually support her. So now let's go ahead and listen to the discussion that me and Neil Mitchell took place on the 3AW program. Okay, so here is the discussion between me and Neil Mitchell.
To the fear, I think the fear is essentially illogical, but I can say what it's driven by, and it's driven by a level of terrorism.
And we're actually discussing about the integration of Muslims and the hypocrisy of their claims.
Out in the name of Islam. Obscenely in the name of Islam, in my view. Mustafa, hello.
Yeah, Neil?
Yeah.
Yeah, Neil, look, I'm an Australian Muslim and I submit to the laws of this land. That's what my religion teaches me to do. But, I'm really, really saddened that majority, it sometimes makes me cry because it upsets me that much that this statistic, this poll that's put out there where so many people, feel that Muslims aren't integrating here. What does integration mean? Integration means that we need to submit to the laws of the land. Majority of the people submit. That includes Muslims. There are non-Muslims, and if you look at the prison population, so many non-Muslims aren't submitting to the laws of this land. They are breaking laws. How many times do we hear on your program how
that's true. That's true.
People are breaking laws?
But Mustafa, we also have to recognise, I haven't seen the Victorian figures recently, but last time I looked at the New South Wales figures, there is a disproportionate number of Muslim men in jail compared to the number of men. The percentage of men in the community is, say, 4%, and it's about more than double that in jail as a percentage of the population.
So are the statistics showing that there are more Muslims in jail than non-Muslims? Is that what it's saying?
No. Oh, no, not at all. But it's saying that I think it's something like 25% of the inmates in New South Wales jails are Muslim. Now, where it's about 4% of the community is Muslim. It might even be less.
Yeah, but
you see what I mean?
Okay, I don't know the statistics, but what I'm saying is there are non-Muslims who. We just heard in New South Wales where that man did that horrendous crime against that 12-year-old girl.
Yeah.
Now it happens on both sides. Now, do we say, okay, they're not integrating, the non-Muslims are integrating, let's just throw them out of this country, let's ban them? So I think we need to re-educate and say, look, just because there are groups like ISIS, these terrorist thugs out there, they don't represent all of us, and people have to stop saying that we're trying to put Sharia into this country.
I understand that, and I agree with you, but where I disagree is you say we have to sort of stop it. We can't stop it. It has to be discussed. It has to be explained and accepted. You cannot force the view on somebody. You have to argue it, as you have. Thank you. Helen, hello.
Okay, so let's pause it there. As you can see, Neil Mitchell, towards the end of it, he pretty much agreed with everything that I said, but at the end of it, he's saying that he thought what I said was we need to stop having this discussion. I never said we need to stop having this discussion, and because I only had a little bit of time on his show, he didn't allow me to finish off what I had to say, but that's obviously due to the restricted time. I understand that, but that's why I called in to make a discussion and change, the public opinion poll. This is what we need to do. Of course, we need to talk about this and show that people are ignorant and they shouldn't judge the rest of us Muslims and put us all in the same basket. And no one's saying close the discussion. No one's saying we shouldn't talk about it. We should talk about it and re-educate people. So basically, the point is clearly valid that, yes, there are non-Muslims who also commit crimes. Now, obviously, he brought up a statistic. The statistic was in New South Wales only, where it shows that a big population is part of the prison amongst those Muslims who are living in New South Wales. But of course, that's not for broad of Australia and Melbourne. That's specifically for that part of town. And we know that there are gang violences there, and that's why that is so. But he actually admitted, Neil Mitchell actually admitted, that Muslims aren't overall the majority of the population in the prisons in Australia. So if those non-Muslims are not following the law and ending up in prison, why aren't we extraditing them back to the motherland? So he actually had no response. In fact, he actually agreed with me. So just because people don't follow the law doesn't mean that we simply stop them coming here, or we, and these are obviously a minority group. And even if they're a majority, we still have a prison. Throw them in prison, throw away the key. I mean, why is there this double standard that when a non-Muslim commits a crime, he simply can still stay in this country and integrate, but when it comes to Muslims, we have this double standards. We have criminals amongst them. That means they're not integrating because they're not following our laws. So the point has been proven clearly that non-Muslims, these Pauline Hanson groups don't go after non-Muslims commit crimes and don't integrate with the law of the land. They don't go ahead and say to them, you got to go back to the motherland. You don't integrate in our culture. You're not a tolerant person. But they go after the easy target, which are Muslims. So the point has been made. Thank you for listening. And yes, please share the video. Yes, it is clear that 41% who oppose Muslims in this country for not integrating are based upon ignorance. Thank you to Deakin University.